want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, MailTag. MailTag is a Chrome extension that allows you to track your emails in real time for free. It also lets you track other cool things like link clicks, email reopens, and even the device that was used to open your emails. Be sure to check out MailTag by clicking the link in the description below. Hey, what's going on, guys? So I have a really cool project for you guys today. I did a grid CSS crash course a few months ago, and I've been asked over and over to do some kind of layout or website with the grid system because honestly there's not a lot out there. There's some other crash course type videos, but nothing where they actually create something, especially something that's responsive. So we're going to create this single page layout website for a fictional company called Acme Web Solutions, and it's completely responsive. You'll see if I make this smaller, once we get around 700 pixels, that kicks in and you can see everything is now stacked and looks really nice. Alright, so we're going to be using a 4 fractional layout for our grid. In fact, if I open up my Chrome tools here and we look at the source code, you'll see the header has a class of grid, and then inside the main tag, each section here, okay, section A, B, and C, which are these sections, also have a class of grid, and you can actually see the outline. So basically we're going to have 4 different sections, or what are called fractionals if you watch my grid CSS crash course. And we're basically going to span, for instance, the one that I'm hovering over now, we're going to span the content from 2 to 4, so it's in the middle. Alright, so we're not using any containers or anything like that, and we're taking a mobile first approach, which means just that. We're gonna create the layout for a mobile site first, so it'll be basically just all stacked, and then we'll apply the grid system and we'll have these columns or fractionals. Now the one part of the layout we're going to use Flexbox is with these 3 cards right here. These are actually list items, which I gave the class of card, like you would see in Materialize or Bootstrap. And we will be using Display Flex for these, okay, to align those correctly. But all in all, it's just a really modern layout, and you don't see too many tutorials with this kind of markup. So I figured it was a good idea. Plus, I'm getting requests for it. So that's it, guys. Let's go ahead and get into it, and let's get started. Alright, so we're going to be starting from absolute scratch. I have VS Code open with an empty folder called CSS Grid Theme, and over here is the final project. Now, as I said, we're taking a mobile first approach, so we're going to be building it like this first before we implement anything to do with the grid. The grid is going to go inside of a CSS media query for only on screen sizes larger than 700 pixels. So we're not going to get to the grid until, you know, closer to the end. But like I said, I like to start from scratch in my videos, just so people aren't lost, so they can just, you know, start fresh. So let's go ahead and create 2 files here, index.html and style.css. Alright, and the CSS is coming last, so we're going to do all the markup first. It's usually how I like to work, so we're going to put in some markup. I'm using Emmet, so I can do exclamation tab, and that'll give me my head and body tags and all that stuff. Alright, for the title, let's change this to Acme, I spelled that wrong, Acme Web Solutions, and we're going to put our link tag in here and link to our style.css. And I'm going to try to go kind of fast with the markup. Now I'm going to save this. I am using live dev server for Visual Studio Code. If you want that, you can click on this icon here and just search for live server, and you just click the green install button. That'll install it, and then what you can do is right click and say open with server, and it'll actually open your HTML file on your local host on port 5500. And it also gives you auto-loading capabilities. So every time I save, it's going to upload, so I don't have to keep, or reload, so I don't have to keep clicking the reload button. Alright, which is good for videos. So that's it for the head. Now we're going to start on the markup. So basically we're going to start with the header, or the showcase, which is this area here. Then we'll move to section A. Section B is all of these images, these cards right here, and then section C is this right here. Section D is these two boxes, and then we have the footer. So those are the main parts of this layout. So let's start with the header. I'm going to put a comment in here and say header showcase. So basically we're going to put in HTML5 header tag. We're going to give it an ID of showcase, and then we're going to give it a class of grid. Okay, so I'm using Emmet, and that's why I'm able to do this. So header, I'm giving it an ID of showcase, a class of grid. I hit tab and it gives us the markup. All right, so I would suggest using Emmet. If you're not using VS Code, you can easily install it as an extension for, if you're using Sublime Text or Atom or something like that. All right, now one thing that I want to mention is that for the background, it's faded. It has an opacity, and in order to do that without fading out the text, we have to add it to a different element, not to the header. Okay, we're not going to add the background image to the header, so we're going to put another div in here with the class of BG image. All right, we're not going to put anything inside the div, but that's what we're going to use to attach the image, all the background properties and all that, and then we can add some opacity to it. All right, and then let's see, under that we're going to have an H1, and we're just going to say welcome to Acme Web Solutions, and then we'll have a paragraph, and let's see, we're going to do lorem 20. Okay, with Emmet we can say lorem 20, hit tab, and it gives us 20 sample text words or dummy text. All right, and then under that we're going to have an A tag with the class of BTN, okay, which is a class that we'll create, or style we'll create, and then it's going to go to hash section dash did I do B? Yeah, section B. So when we hit read more, it'll just scroll down a little bit. All right, and then let's put in read more here. All right, so that's it for the showcase. Now if I save this and we take a look, it's going to look horrible because we have no CSS yet. All right, now the rest of the layout is going to be within a main tag. Okay, so let's say I'm going to put a comment here. We'll say main area. So main, we'll give it an ID of main as well. And then let's put our section with the ID of section A and a class of grid. All right, now some people ask me why I do section A, section B, and all that. The reason for that is because you never know when you're going to change things around. For instance, I may want to take this here, this digital needs, and then put that up here. All right, now if I had named this something like web app dev class or ID, and this something like digital needs as an ID, if I go ahead and switch the content, that ID is no longer going to make sense. So this is how I like to do it in sections. So section A, B, C, and so on. All right, then that's why I do it, and it's all preference. If you want to do something else, that's fine. But that's why I do that. So for section A, we're going to have a class of content-wrap. All right, we're going to use this class later on with the grid to span our content. It's basically going to be kind of used as a container to push things to the middle. Let's see, and then inside there we're going to have an H2 with a class of content-title. All right, and for the title we're going to say web and application development. Okay, and then we'll have under that a paragraph, and we'll put in, let's say, 20, lorem 20 tab, and actually no, we need more text than that. I think it was 30 I did, lorem 30. Nope, still not enough. Lorem 40 tab. Okay, so that looks good. And then that's it. That's it for section A. So if we save it, it should look like this. So next thing we have is section B, which includes all of these cards or these list items here with the images. So let's go right down here. Actually, I'm going to put a comment right here saying that this is section A. All right, and then we'll do section B. Okay, so for section B, we're going to do section hash section B, and it's going to have a class of grid. And let's see, inside here we're going to have our UL. So UL, we'll have an LI, and then inside the LI we're going to have a div with the class of card. Okay, so in this card div we'll have our image. So this is where our first inline image will go. Now to get these images, I'm going to go to pexels.com, P-E-X-E-L-S, not pixels, and I'm going to search for, let's search for programming. Oops. Programming. And it's this one right here, so this image. Now if this was production, if you're going to use this, you know, live on the web, you're going to want to download the image and then, you know, use it from your actual file structure. But I want to post this on Codepen, so I don't want to have any actual images downloaded. So what I'm going to do is click on free download, and I'm just going to grab the link. Alright, so you guys can choose what you want to do. We're going to put this right in here. Alright, let's save that and let's take a look, and it's going to be absolutely humongous. Alright, and like I said, you know, if this is going to be production, you're going to want to download it. You're also going to want to resize these, but because this is huge and it's going to take up a lot of files, a lot of resources. All right, now under the image, we're going to put a div with the class of card-content. And inside card content, we're going to have an H3 with a class of card title. So I kind of formatted this as like Materialize and Bootstrap. They're all using cards now. And we're going to say web development. All right, and then under that, we'll have a paragraph with 20 words. We'll say lorem 20 tab, save. And then underneath that, you guys probably can't even see that because I'm in the way. So let me just open up my dev tools so that moves up. Alright, so we have our text here. Now what we want to do is we want a couple more of these list items. So what I'll do is grab this LI, copy it, and paste it in 2 more times. Let's format that. In VS Code you can do Alt-Shift-F and it'll format your markup or whatever. Let's see, we're going to go to the second list item and we want to change the image, so I'm going to go back to Pexels, close that up, and I'm going to search for I think I searched for mobile. Yeah, this one right here. Click free download and grab the link, put that in here, and yeah, and then we're going to change this to mobile. What was it? Was it mobile applications? Yeah, mobile applications. And then for the last image, let's close that. We'll go back to Pixels. We'll search for, what was it? Marketing, I think. Yeah, we're going to grab this image here. And you guys can use whatever images you want. So we'll grab the link, that, and then we'll change the title here to Tech Marketing. Alright, so now if we look at our project, we have all of these images with the text underneath. Mobile applications and tech marketing. Alright, so that's section B. Now we're going to move to section C. So you can see the markup is actually pretty simple. So section C, we're going to have a section tag with an ID of section-C and a class of grid. Alright, and let's see. In here, this is going to be pretty simple. We're just going to have a content wrap. Inside the content wrap, we're going to have an H2 with a content-title. And the title is going to say, we handle all of your digital needs. Okay, and then for the paragraph, we'll say lorem 20 tab. And that's section C. Section D is going to be the 2 boxes, so it's going to be the contact us and the about our company. So let's go under this section. and we'll say section ID, section D, class grid. Alright, so let's see, these are actually going to have a div of box, these two right here. So we'll say class box, and inside the box we'll have an H2 with a class of content title, and this one is going to be contact us. We'll have a paragraph with we'll say lorem 20, and then we'll put another paragraph with the email address, which will be sales, contact at Acme Web Solutions .test. Alright, so that's that box. Let's do another box underneath that div. And for this one, it's going to have an H2, content title, and this is going to say about our company. And we'll do a paragraph with 30 words, so lorem 30. And that is section D. So now what we want to do is go outside of the main, and we're going to put our footer. So let's say footer, I'm going to give it an ID of main dash footer and a class of grid. Alright, and then we're going to have two divs. So I'll say div times 2 with Emmet, and the first one I'm just going to say Acme Web Solutions, and the second one I'm going to say project by Traversy Media, and then I'm just going to wrap my link around that. HTTP HTTP traversymedia.com. Check it out if you have a chance. Shameless plug. And we'll also add a target to that A tag so that it goes off the page, so it opens a new tab, and save. Alright, so let's take a look. So let's see, we have this right here, which is section C. These two contact us about, these are section D, and then the footer. Okay, so it looks horrible, but that's because we have no CSS. Alright, so that should be it for our markup. That's it. So let's move on to style.css, and we're going to start with our core styles. Oops. Alright, so let's start with the body. So the body is going to have 0 margin. Let's give it a font family of Arial, Helvetica, Sans Serif. Let's give it a background color of dark gray. Let's give it a color of white. What else? Font size, I'm going to say 1.1 M. Let's save that, see what it looks like. Okay, that's fine so far. Line height, let's do 1.5. And then I want to align everything to the center. Okay, save that, good. So that is the body. I can get rid of this. I'll just try to keep what I'm focusing on up above myself. So in addition to that, we're going to have some core styles for the image. Okay, so basically any image is going to have a display of block. We also want to make the width 100% of its container. That's going to shrink down these huge images right here once I save. We're also going to set the height to auto. Alright, so let's save, and now we can actually see the damn images. Alright, so for the headings, we have H1, H2, put some spaces in there, so H2, H3. For the headings, I'm going to zero out the margin, and then I'm going to add a padding of 1M on top and 0, or 1M on the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. Alright, and then we also have for paragraphs. So paragraphs, I'm actually going to 0 out the margin and set padding to 1M on the top and bottom and 0 on the left and right. Alright, so we'll save that. Not much difference there. And that's pretty much it for as far as the core styles. I guess we could do the button, because that's going to be outside of any other elements as well. So let's do .btn. Alright, so we want to display, actually let's add a background of 333. Let's make the color white. Let's take away the underline, so text decoration, none. Let's set the padding to, let's do 1M on the top and bottom, 2M on the left and right. Let's add a border of 1 pixel solid, and then the color for that is going to be, what is the color for the border? It's 666. And save, see what that looks like. Alright, so right now it's displayed inline, so the it's kind of running into the next element. If we were to look at this, see how it's like running into the next element. So we don't want to display as a block. And I'm just explaining this for, you know, you guys that are kind of new to CSS. If we display as a block, it will put everything on the next line, but it also goes all the way across. The border, the background, I don't want that. So we're going to display it as an inline block, which basically takes the best of both worlds. And then, yeah, I think that's good. Actually, we're going to add a margin as well. So I'm just going to say margin for the top and bottom, we'll do 0.5 M and then 0. Alright. So I also want to add a hover state for the button. So btn :hover. So for the hover, it'll have a background. The background is going to be hexadecimal of EA 3 times, and then color of 333. So now if I hover over it, we get this lighter color. Alright, so now we can actually start working on the specific areas. So we're going to start with the showcase, or the header. So let's go down here. I'll put a comment. We'll say header showcase. So let's go ahead and say ID showcase. Now this isn't going to have too much, because remember how I said we're not putting the background image on the actual showcase div. We're putting it on the BG image so that we can add some opacity to it. So let's set the min height to 450 pixels. Let's set the color. Make sure the color of the text is white, and then let's set text align to center, even though we really don't have to do that because we added that to the body, but that's fine. So we'll save, and now you can see everything's moved down. It has a minimum height of 450 pixels. So now we want to deal with the background image. So we're going to say showcase, and then we have a class of bg-image. Okay, remember that? So you need to make sure that this is positioned absolute. Okay, because it's gonna go over the showcase div, and we want to add the background. Okay, so we're going to say background. First we'll put the color of 333, and then the URL. Alright, so the URL I'm going to grab from Pexels. I'm going to search for programming, and it is this, where is it? This image right here. So we'll go ahead and click free download, and we'll grab that link. Alright, we'll stick that in there, good. And then we need to add some background properties. So let's say background position is going to be center. Okay, background repeat is going to be no repeat. Background size, well, it took me shorter to type it. will be cover. So let's save that. And we're not going to see anything yet because we haven't added the size, the dimensions. So we want a width of 100% of its container, and then for the height, we want to make sure that the height is the same as its parent. So the height should be the same as the showcase, which is 450, because what we're doing is, again, we're placing it on top of it. Okay, so if we save, and you can see that now it's been placed on top of it, literally we can't even see the text anymore. So to fix that issue with the text is by using z-index. And for those of you that are kind of new to CSS, z-index is where the higher it is, the closer to you it is. All right, so right now the z-index for the image is higher than the text, which is, you know, the heading and the button and all that. So what we want to do is set the z-index to a negative number. So we're going to say z-index and set it to -1 and save, and now you can see everything is now brought forward. Okay, and now the whole reason that I wanted to do this is because I want to fade the image out a little, because I think that this is kind of unreadable. The image is too prominent, and it doesn't look right, especially if you were to use a different image that it could make it even worse. So what we're going to do is set the opacity of the BG image class to 0.4 and save, and now you can see that it's faded out. Okay, so that's one way to do this. And if you want it even more faded out, you could do like 0.2. If you wanted it more prominent, you could do like 0.7. It's all up to you. I think 4 looks good. All right, so now we want to move this stuff down a little. I want to fix this heading. So I'm going to say showcase H1. All right, so showcase H1. Let's add padding to the top. I'm just going to do a fixed 100 pixels. And then padding bottom, I want to remove. Okay, so there we go. Now, when this is really really thin or small, whatever, you can see that the words are right up against the edge, and I don't like that. So what I'm going to do, if we look at the header, it has a content wrap class. Now, this is going to be used later on for our grid to basically to center everything and span the content, but I'm also going to use it to add a little bit of padding. So let's say showcase dot content dash wrap, and we're going to just set padding 0 top and bottom, 1.5 m on the sides. And that didn't work, did it? Alright guys, so I got confused for a minute. This isn't working because I didn't add the content wrap on the showcase, which I should have, because we're going to need it. So we want to put this right below where the BG image is, right here. We want div class content dash wrap, and we don't want to end it right there. We're going to end it down here right before the header. Alright, and then we'll just tab that over. Alright, save that. Now you can see that padding has been applied, and we're going to need that later on as well. Alright, so that's it for the header. That's done. Now we're going to move to section A, which is this part right here. So let's go down in our CSS and say section A. Okay, so that's an ID of section dash A. Okay, so this is going to have a light background. So we're going to say background, and it's going to be that EA color, so hexadecimal value EA 3 times. Color will be 333, and then I just want to add padding, I just want to add padding bottom of 2M and save, and there we go. So now we have our light section A. I also want some padding on the sides for that content wrap. I could put that down here, but what I'll do is just copy this, put a comma here, And let's change this to section A. There we go. Save a couple lines of code. Alright, so that's it for section A. Now section B is with all these images and these list items. So let's say, whoops, section B. Alright, so section B. We want some padding here. So padding is going to be 2M, 1M, and 1M. That's it for the actual just section B. Now we want the UL. We want to remove all the padding and margins. See how this is pushed over like that? We also want to get rid of these stupid bullet points. So let's say section B UL. And we'll say list style none. The default should be without bullets. Who the hell uses bullet points in you know, UIs? So let's see. We also want to margin 0, padding 0, and save. And there we go. So that looks a lot better. Now we want to do a couple things to the list items themselves. So section -B li, and for this we're gonna add a margin bottom of 1M. Let's add the background to be white. Let's make the color 333. Save. There we go. Now this, I have a class of card for this whole thing right here, and then this part here is card content, and I want to add some padding to the card content. So we're gonna say dot card content, and the reason I'm not doing section B card content is because you may decide later on you want to use these cards somewhere else, and that won't apply if you add the section B to the beginning. So that's why I'm doing it. So padding will be 1.5M. There we go. Alright, so that takes care of section B. Now we're going to do section C. So ID section -C. Okay, and again, section C is this part right here. It's just this handle all of your digital needs. This is very simple. We just want it to have a white background, and we want it to have a dark text, and we want it to have a padding of 2M. Save. There we go. Now section D is these two boxes here. Alright, so let's see, we're going to say section D. Section D itself doesn't have any styles, but we want the box. Alright, so for the box, padding 2M, color white, save. Okay, now this first one here, the contact us, I want this to have a blue background. So what I'm going to do, instead of adding extra classes in the HTML, we're going to use a pseudo class called first child. So if we say section D dot box colon first child, it's going to take the first box, and then we can add color, or not color, but background. And the color I want to use is hexadecimal. It's 2690D4, and save. And now we have a blue background. Alright, so the last thing we need to do before we get into the media queries and the grid is the footer. Alright, so we're going to have ID of main footer, and we're going to add some padding of 2M. We're going to add a background of black. We're going to add a color of white, and we're gonna, that's it. No, let's do text align center. Okay, now for the link, Sorry about that. So you guys can see this. Let me move this up. The link is purple. I don't want a purple link. So we're going to say main footer A color. I'm going to make the color that blue, this right here. Okay, I also want to remove the underline, so text decoration is going to be none. And that's it. Save. There we go. So that's it. That's our mobile version of our site. Now if I were to, let's close these up. If I were to make this bigger, that's not what we want. We don't want that for this size. It's great for a mobile. That's why this is a mobile first approach. Okay, so now we need to deal with the grid and making this, you know, look good on bigger screens. So what we're going to need to do is add a media query. I'm saying media queries, but we're only going to have one. So to do a media query, we do the @ symbol and then media, and it's formatted like a function. Okay, and we pass in min width, and we're going to do 700 pixels. Whoops, what the hell was that? 700 pixels. So basically what this means is that any styles we put inside of here are only going to be in effect if the width is above 700 pixels. So to test this out, let's do body, we'll just say body display none and save. So if I take this and I make this bigger, once we get to 700 pixels, you'll see that the body just disappears. So we know that the media query is in fact working. So I'm going to keep it around here while we do our development now. Yeah, so we'll go like that, and we'll get rid of that. That was just a test. Now in here we want to apply our grid class. Okay, so let's go ahead and add .grid. So we need to set the display as grid for any elements that have this class. Let's save. Now we're not going to see any difference yet. What we want to do is apply the grid template column property. So we want grid template columns. Now I would, if you know nothing about the grid, I would suggest watching the grid crash course, because I go over this a little better. But basically we can split our columns up into whatever we want. We could use pixels here, so if we said 20 pixels, 20 pixels, 20 pixels, it would give us 3 columns of 20 pixels. But we also have what are called fractionals. They'll take the space as a whole and divide them into fractions. So if we say 1 FR, 1 FR, 1 FR, 1 FR, that will give us 4 fractionals. So it'll be basically a 4-column grid. So if I save that, it's going to look like this. And what it's done is it's taken everything that we applied grid to, and it put everything into the first column. So if I open up my element selector here and I hover over the header, you can see that there are 4 columns or 4 fractionals. Okay, so what we want to do is take the content wrap. See how we have a class of content wrap in all of these? We want to basically take that content wrap and we want to say we want to span it from 2 to 4. So I wish this would stay when I go up here. But basically this first line is 2, okay? And we want to expand it to 4, which is this line that's going to be right there. We want the content to be within that area. Okay, so that's why I said it's going to kind of work as a container. So to do that, what we'll do is add our content wrap class, and we actually also want to do this for our UL in section B. So we're going to put a comma here and say section B UL. Actually, I like to put this. I'm going to put this on a separate line like that. And then we're going to say grid dash column, and we want to say we want to basically range it from 2 to 4 like that. So let's save, and there we go. All right, now this still doesn't look right because well, let's see. So you can see it's ranging from 2 to 4, but I want the two middle. This is kind of hard to explain, guys. The two middle columns, I want those to be wider than the ones on the side. Okay, because we don't want it this in, you know, we want it wider. We want it to come out here. So to do that, instead of doing just 4 of these 1FRs, we're gonna replace the middle 2 with a repeat. Okay, so basically repeat will just, like if we say repeat 1FR twice, save, that'll do. Actually, hold on, was that right? No, that just went back to normal. If we say repeat 2 1FR and save, it's the same thing. It's just like saying 1FR 4 times. But what we're going to do is, instead of just doing 1FR right here, we're going to put in a function called min-max. Okay, min-max, which we're going to take, it takes in a min and a max. So we're going to say auto, which is the default. So basically, if it's smaller than auto, then we want this to be the size 25M. Okay, so this is going to change the sizing of the middle 2. So let's try this. Let's save it. And now you can see if I hover over header, actually let's make this a little bigger because you'll be able to see it a little better. Now you can see that the middle 2, when the browser is at a certain size, they're going to be 25M wide. All right, so both of these 2 columns in the middle together equal 50M. All right, and then you can see the sides are much smaller. And the smaller that this gets, the smaller the side columns get. See how small they are now? Until you get to a certain point where they're basically just, well, basically the grid isn't working anymore because we set the grid to only be in effect when it's at 700 pixels or less. Okay, or less than 700 pixels. So I hope that made sense, and you can see that also worked here. And down here, if we look at this area, this doesn't look right. Okay, so basically what's going on here is these are taking up 1 column, and we need these to span 2. And what I mean is the boxes and also the divs in the footer. All right, if I make this bigger and I look at, let's see, let's hover over section D, I believe this is. Let's see, section D, and you can see, actually I'll make it a little bigger so we can see all the columns. All right, so they're taking up 1. We need these to span 2. Okay, so contact us should come out to here, so it should span 2, and then about should be from here to here. Okay, so that's really easy to fix, and same thing with the footer. So what we can do is go into our CSS and go down to the media query, and we're just going to add our box class, and we're going to add the main dash footer div. Okay, make sure you put the div in there, and then we're just going to set what are we going to set? We're going to set the grid column, to 2, and save. I'm sorry, grid column span, we want it to span 2, save, and there we go. So now that looks correct. They're basically each spanning 2 columns of the 4. Okay, same thing with these. All right, so we are getting there. Let's see, what do we want to do next? Now up at the top, this right here, if we look at the original, you can see that it's split, the paragraph is split into 2 columns. So we want to do that, we want that effect. So let's go right here and say, actually it's an ID, section A, and then we want content dash text, and basically for our content text we want to set it to 2 columns, columns 2, save. That didn't work. You know what? Yeah, I forgot to put in the content text class. So in section A, this paragraph right here should be wrapped in a div with the class of content text. I forgot all about that. Sorry, guys. So that should be wrapped like that. All right, and then we'll save, and now you can see it's separate. Now we still have some issues here. One, I want to increase the gap in the middle. We can do that with column gap. We'll set that to 2M. Save, and then it's also kind of out of whack right here. One's higher than the other. So what we need to do is take section A, content text, and then the paragraph. And sorry about that. We're going to set the margin. Is it margin top? Yeah, we're going to, oh, not margin top, padding top, sorry. So padding top to 0. And there we go. All right, so no matter how much text you put there, it's still going to work. So it's scalable. All right, so that's set. Now, basically, all we really have left is the ULs, the cards here. We want these to span across 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the UL to a flex item. So I believe it's section B, UL, and we're going to set display flex and save. All right, so just doing that, you can see made them all align horizontally. Now we want to set the width of the LIs. So we're going to say section -B LI. I'm going to set the width of these to 31% and save. Okay, and now we just need to justify it. So we're going to say justify content, and we want to use space around. Okay. So space around. And if you don't know what this is, I would suggest watching my Flexbox in 20 minutes. Space around basically is going to take any extra space. You see how there's extra space over here? It's going to put it around the whole thing and in between each flex item. All right, so I'll save, and you can see that it dispersed that space into where it needed to go, around and in between. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. And I think we're done. Yeah, so that's it, guys. Let's just take one more look if we maximize this. All right, so it looks pretty good. Pretty simple, but you know, I think it's nice and clean, and the mobile view looks good. Okay, once we get down to 700 pixels. All right, so hopefully you guys like this, and hopefully it sheds some light on using grid CSS. You know, just using a more modern approach in creating your layouts. So if you liked it, leave a like, leave a thumbs up. If you are not subscribed and you like this kind of thing, please subscribe. Follow me on social media, join the Discord, you know, check out my courses at traversymedia.com. Anything you guys can do, I appreciate, and thanks for watching. So I just want to give another shout out to MailTag, who sponsored this video. MailTag is a free Chrome browser extension that allows you to track your emails in real time. I've been using it myself for about a week now, and I can't recommend it enough. On top of email tracking, MailTag has a bunch of other features like desktop push notifications that alert you when your emails have been opened, link click tracking that shows if people have actually clicked on the links in your email, and a ton of other cool features. Again, all these features are completely free. Be sure to check out MailTag and click that link in the description.